Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to more iRacing content here at Knee Gaming. In today's video, we're headed to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Now, this was the track that we would have originally been doing last week, but we didn't have AI support last week, but by virtue of the most recent iRacing update, we now have AI at Las Vegas. So we're going to go ahead and take care of Las Vegas this week. Now, Las Vegas, yes, is definitely a mile-and-a-half track, but it races very different than some of the other mile-and-a-half tracks, and we're going to get a chance to see that this week as well as next week when we're headed to Atlanta. Very different tracks, even though the length of the track would indicate that they are very similar, if not the same. So we're headed to Las Vegas today. Now, a lot of the settings are going to be very similar to what we've seen in previous videos. A lot of things are more or less default, but there are a few very important differences today, and we'll start with the weather. You notice that the weather is under Generate Weather. Now, this is going to make it specific to each individual track and give a little bit of variance here and there. So I'm going to start using that more and more, so it will tailor the weather to the individual track. That should change things up just a little bit. Our race session will be 50 laps, so just a touch shorter than where we were last time. If you'll remember, in our last race, we literally ran out of fuel just as we were crossing the start-finish line. So I backed off of that just to shorten the video just a little bit, because the idea here is to see how the AI race over a full fuel stint, and 50 laps is plenty close enough to that for us to get the point of how they're going to behave. We're also going to continue disabling the car damage. I have, even after the most recent iRacing update, I still am seeing weird behavior out of the AI, even after adjusting their ratings for certain things like aggressiveness and so on. I'm still seeing a little bit of weird behavior. And again, the goal for these videos is not to see where we finish in the race. It's to see how the AI behave. And so we want to keep as many AI on the lead lap and running at full strength as we can. So the car damage being disabled definitely helps us out with that. We'll be in the Cup car, and personally, I will be driving the Chevy Camaro. That is the only Cup car that I actually own, but there'll be plenty of Fords and Toyotas in the field as well. Still going to be using the BR 2021 Cup collection available through TradingPaints. That's a collection that I put together recently and continue to work with the ratings on. But just a quick reminder, none of the paint schemes you're going to see in today's video, either AI or my personal scheme that I'll be running, none of those were done by me. A huge thank you to all of the artists that make their work available through TradingPaints for those of us like me to have fun using. And if you're wondering what is the personal scheme I'm using, well, it's the one you see in the thumbnail for today's video, along with a link in the description. So if you are interested in that particular scheme, you can head over to TradingPaints and download that as well. So again, thank you very much to all the artists putting their hard work on TradingPaints for us. There'll be 34 AI drivers. We're going to once again use the skill spread of 50 to 80%. And I have noticed at Las Vegas that they are once again very fast on new tires, in fact, blazingly fast in some cases. But as the tires wear, we start to come into our own. So I expect to see some similar type of action to what we saw in last week's race once again here today. And of course, we'll be starting last on the grid so that we get our best opportunity to see exactly how the starts go and how things change over the course of the run. Everything else is pretty much default to the sim, with the exception of time of day, which I always like to have noon. Love those early start times and really wish we could get back to some of those for personal reasons and scheduling. There are a couple of other things that we're going to talk about over the course of today's video, and we'll get to those once we get into the race. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy some action from Las Vegas. All right, so as we head through turns 1 and 2 on the parade lap, getting ready to get this race started. As I mentioned in the opening, there's a couple of things that are going to be different about today's race. One is the setup. I've started working on setups simply because I enjoy it. I greatly enjoy working on my own setups. So we'll see how things go. Just starting to learn how everything works and what I can get by with, what I can't, what works and what doesn't. The second thing is I'm using CrewChief, a standalone program that is an add-in to iRacing. Just started using it a day or two ago. Still getting used to all the settings, and we'll talk about that more as the race goes on. So if you hear something sounds a little different, that's what it'll be, the CrewChief program. All right, so these starts, we're getting a lot of the stuttering. They get started, there you go. Almost come to a stop, and we're off to the races.
Car on top. Hold your line.
So once again, these guys are going to be really fast on the new tires. Trying to give everybody room here at the start. My goal for right now, for the first few laps, is just to try to keep up as best I can. This is a track you can easily run wide open, particularly by yourself. But in traffic, I am choosing not to. So we'll make a pass here and there if the opportunity presents itself.
You're up top.
But if not, we'll try to be as patient as we can be. But of course, ultimately, we want to pass as many cars as we can.
There, outside. Hold your line. Clear up high. Car up high.
Alright, so the 00 really didn't want to get that position up.
P34. That time was 31.4.
Clear high. Keep it up. Outside.
Way out of the gas there on the corner entry. Oh, look out.
Still there. Stay with them.
We don't want to get that death wobble.
Still there. They're still there. Still there. Stay with them. Outside clear.
So again, I am being very careful right now.
The next car is McLeod. The leader's just done it.
Alright, there we go. So now we get a little bit of open track. We passed a couple of cars that were a little bit further off the pace. The real good news is that I haven't seen any issues out of the AI up in front of us. It is not uncommon for them to wreck within the first few laps of a race, and of course there's still plenty of time for that to happen. They just don't like to give each other any room at all, or me any room at all sometimes, it seems. I'm noticing with trading paints that generally,
You've just done a 30.1.
at most every race, there's at least one car that it chooses not to load the paint scheme for. And it looks like this race, it's the 78. So BJ McLeod is not getting any love from trading paints right now.
Outside.
That is definitely not what
Clear high.
his paint scheme looked like that I downloaded for him and that we saw last week. But if you're wondering what a sort of a default paint scheme would be for the AI, if you don't have anything loaded from Trading Paints, then that's it. That's what you're seeing, the red and white right in front of us. So again, I'm trying to be patient. We need to get around this 78 car, but I'm not going to get in too big of a hurry. We've got 50 laps, so if we've got the speed, we'll be able to pass some cars, and if we don't,
The lap time was
we simply won't be able to.
Outside, be
Oh
careful.
wow, he gave us room there on the bottom. I really didn't expect that. So we'll try to scoot on by on the bottom.
Hold your line. You're clear high.
Look at this, 3 wide in front of us. That is a mess. Is what that is. 3, 4 wide, looks like.
P31.
Trying to decide how much I want to become involved in this. All right, so the 33, poor guy, he got pushed up to the top side, and the AI just don't run very well at all up there.
Good. Clear outside.
So if you get them pushed up that high, they generally will just back out of it. And they slide back like you saw the 33 do.
P30.
Outside. Clear outside.
Easy now, 43. All right, looks like it's our turn to be in the middle of 3 wide. Not how I planned it.
Still there. Hold your line. In the middle. 3 wide.
Woo.
They're still there.
I would have liked to give the guy on the bottom more room than that, but unfortunately, the guy on the high side wasn't giving me a whole lot of room either. So we made it work somehow. Now, the AI generally don't like 3 wide, particularly when I'm involved. So yeah, I knew I was going to drive it in deeper into turn 3 to try to get out of that, give ourselves a little room. All right, so we got a nice little group of these guys. So we'll try to be patient and work our way through them as much as we can anyway.
Car outside. 3 wide, hold your line. Car high. Still there.
Ooh, 34, he's right there.
Still there, hold on.
My main focus there wasn't coming out
Still
ahead.
there.
It was just coming out alive.
Clear up high.
Trying to leave him plenty of room. And as always, hoping he's going to do the same for me. All right, so now we have that beautiful Ross Chastain watermelon scheme in front of us. Car's handling very nicely so far. As I mentioned, I mean, this is sort of my first attempt at a setup. This is me learning how the cars perform using different settings, because there are a lot of options that you have in the iRacing garage.
Still there. Hold your line.
22nd place.
Outside clear.
All right, so we'll make that pass. I believe that puts us into the top 20. So I'm not sure how much you guys can hear. The CrewChief program is a spotter as well as a CrewChief portion to it. Trying to decide if I want to keep both of them. I do like the extra information it gives me. The CrewChief portion of it. Not sure I like the spotter. Not sure I like the way it goes about delivering the calls and so forth. We'll see. I'm trying to give it some time. But the CrewChief I do like because it gives a lot of additional information, tons of options to turn things on and off that it talks about. But I really like the additional information. In fact, what I would prefer to have is something that can give me enough information that I don't even have these pop-up boxes on the screen that I even use during the course of the race. I would like for it to be just like during a real race where the driver is talking back and forth to his team, and that's how things get done. That would be perfect.
They're still there.
So if I can get to that point with CrewChief, then that will be amazing and will put a huge smile on my face. If not, we'll keep searching and we'll keep working with it. But for right now, let's see, where are we? We are in the top 20, right?
20th place.
Okay, yeah, we're in 20th place, right?
Outside. Clear high, keep it up.
Our car's rotating nicely. In fact, sometimes I have to take care not to get it over-rotated.
There, outside. You're clear high.
All right, so far you can see that we're coming up pretty easily and passing most of these guys. We just have a lot more speed than the guys running around 20th place. So we'll see how that changes as we get closer and closer to the front. And also we'll see if there's a crossover point to where they actually start to come back on us. Maybe we have run the car too hard, or the car gets too loose, too tight, and they actually come back and start gaining on us. So a lot of things to figure out. We just had the recent update for 2021 Season 2. Of course, the big addition as far as the AI goes has been the GT3. I look forward to bringing some of that to the channel as well. It's been a while since I have driven the GT3 cars. In fact, a long time. So I got to get back used to the cars before we can do any real racing with them. So we're about 18 laps in, running just inside the top 20, and we got a long string of cars in front of us.
Your lap time was 31.7.
down a little too low that time. But the main thing for the setup is that I wanted it to drive well on the long run. It's not a, oh, look out, please give me a little room here.
Still there.
It's not a setup that I designed to be like a qualifying setup and great on brand new tires. Because the brand new tires don't last long.
17th place.
Then after that, you're slipping and sliding around, which is my favorite part.
There, outside. Still there, hold on.
Yeah, he is not
Clear up high.
giving me a whole lot of room, and I'm okay with that. Again, every driver is going to be different. Some of them are going to be a lot more aggressive and drive differently than others. And one of them that is right in front of us is going to be very aggressive.
P15.
Car outside.
These guys get out of the gas pretty early in corner entry, even the aggressive guys. So that's an opportunity for us to pick up a spot.
Hold your line. Clear high. Keep it up.
They also keep it really high on entry and really arc it in. So that's another opportunity for us to make up some spots. As and you can see, not only do they get out of the gas early, but they really arc it in there. Which can be good, but it opens the door for us. Trying to see, where's that 5 car going to do? I thought about driving it in there a little bit deeper. All right, so right now we got the Hendrick Brigade right in front of us. I'm going to back out of this. There's nothing good that can happen here. Hard on the brakes.
Still there. Hold your line. Hold it.
All right, so number 9, yeah, he was trying to block me a little bit there.
Hold your line. Outside, be careful.
I think we're 3 wide. I think I need to turn the volume up a little bit on our spotter from the CrewChief program.
Still there, hold your line.
Because I can barely hear, especially when we're in traffic. All right, there we go. We finally got clear of all that. That puts us, I believe, actually just outside the top 10, maybe in the top 10, just barely. Either way, we are coming through this field quite nicely, and I noticed that on the screen it is getting quite dark sometimes. So we're definitely going into, like right here we have sunshine, but then there are definitely times when we go through, it almost seems dark, like right through here. It gets pretty dark coming off of turn 2. It's like the 20 car of Christopher Bell got really loose on corner exit there.
Clear outside.
I was a little worried he might be about to get into us. All right, so that's got to put us in the top 10, right?
We're halfway home. Fuel looks okay. P9. That lap was at
All right, P9.
31.9.
So at the halfway spot, we are P9. Let's see if we can keep that momentum going. Again, car's handling just fine. The focus was on keeping that rotation throughout the entirety of the run. Trying to get that tire wear, particularly on the right side, to be as even as we can. That means you cannot overdrive the car. So I'm trying to be gentle with it and let the car more or less drive itself as much as possible. And then after the race, we'll make tweaks and then go again to see how those tweaks have affected the car. That's how I build a setup. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good about this setup. It's driving good. Not perfect, of course. I never consider any setup to be actually done to the point where I believe it's perfect and cannot be improved. I don't think I've ever had that happen. Even the setups that I'm most proud of and really felt the best to me, I never consider them perfect. Also, just as a reminder, if you haven't seen the first couple of videos with the AI and iRacing, keep in mind that the numbers you see painted on these cars, those are sim stamped, meaning that iRacing has printed those numbers on the side. That's why you see them all looking very default and bland, rather than being put there by the artist.
The captain bell behind is increasing. It's now 0.9.
Hold your line. Hold your line. They're still there.
So the two cars hanging right in there with me. However, when we get to the corner, that will quickly end. I had a feeling the 12 car wasn't going to give me that bottom there, so I backed out of it a little bit. You can see he has scooted away nicely from us on the next straightaway. So he's got some nice speed in that car. Here we are 30 laps into a run, so just past halfway on a fuel run. We'll see if we ultimately have enough to keep going through the field.
Still there.
I mean, we've made it to the back half of the top 10.
Still there.
So the question becomes, hello, easy down. Easy, easy.
Still there. Stay with them.
I thought we were about to have some company down there. All right, so that's going to put us into, I believe, 7th position. So we've made it this far. I'm pretty happy with this. This is starting in the rear.
P7.
Making it up inside the top 10. I feel like that's a pretty good race. Now we want to see how much more we can get.
Hold your line. They're still there. Still there. Hold your line.
Oh, the car really hooked up there, coming through 3 and 4.
Still there.
And of course, we know when we get to turn 1, he's going to back out of it earlier than us.
Lap times are pretty consistent.
Clear inside.
Try to give him just enough room there in case he decides to pack it into turn 1, but as expected, he did not. So as we come up on about 35 laps into the race, the tire fall off has pretty much done what it's going to do at this point. So you've reached whatever speed and handling characteristics you're going to have. That's why a big reason why I didn't worry too much about taking 5 laps off the total race. Just makes the video a little shorter, makes the file size a little bit smaller, and most of the fall off happens pretty early in a run. Then you don't have a whole lot of fall off toward the last half of the run. By then you've got what you've got, and you just have to deal with it. So still just trying to take care of the car, just doing our thing, trying to continue moving up. I would love to get a top 5 out of this. That would be pretty awesome. And I'm also trying to see, are we getting into lap traffic up ahead? Or are all these lead lap cars? I haven't had a good opportunity to really get a check on visually to see who's up ahead of us beyond this one car. All right, so we're closing in some on Kurt Busch. And we've got plenty of time left. 13, 14 laps left.
They're outside.
Oh, look out, Kurt. Oh, look out. Oh, then he brake checked us. It got really loose after that contact, so I had to get on the brakes. And of course, Kurt Busch is one of those aggressive drivers, so his ratings for aggression are elevated for sure over some of the other drivers in the car set. Didn't quite expect him to come down the track that much on me.
High side.
Let's see if he's going to do that again. I doubt it. We're far enough inside him now. Oh, what's going to happen here with the lap car?
Still there. Still there. Hold on. Clear outside.
A5.
Alright, as I look in my mirror, it looks like the 00 is still blocking the one car, so that's not going to make him happy at all. Might even cost him a position or two. Alright, so now we can shift our focus to what's going on in front of us as, yeah, Denny Hamlin has caught and passed Kurt Busch, so that means...
The gap behind is now 1.1 seconds.
About 1 second, okay. Again, not sure how well you guys can hear the crew chief. I need to add a little bit more volume probably next time if I stick with this program.
22.0.
I believe there's a way to keep the crew chief portion and not use the spotter from the program. At this point, that's where I'm leaning. Not as big a fan of the way the spotter works as I am the additional information that I get from the crew chief himself. That's really the part I'm interested in.
That lap was at 32.0.
Of course, now we got a little bit of clean air. So with this little bit of clean air, we're pulling away from the guys behind us. We're in the top 5. So things are going quite well as we're now in the final 10 laps of the race. Let's see, who is this in front of us? That's Truex. Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. Yeah, I can't see in front of that. Can't tell who that is in front of him. Again, it's a little bit dark on my screen right now, making it kind of hard to tell. I think I see Logano up in front. That would make sense because I don't remember passing him as we came through the field. I would say that might be Brad Keselowski in front of him, but I remember passing Brad as we came through the field, so not sure who that would be either. Might even be a lap car. But again, those are some of the limitations that I actually enjoy. You know, I mean, I can always, you know, pull up a window or look in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and get some of that information, but I prefer not to do that. That's there more for you guys to see and keep track of if you choose, rather than me. I prefer to drive this as much like a driver in a real race as I can. Alright, so that lap traffic has really helped us close in on these guys in front.
Outside. Clear up high.
Now let's see if we can do anything with it. It looks like we're going to be able to keep Truex behind us. We'll see. Then I think that's the 4 car in front of us. And I'm trying to get that from his tailgate. Yeah, there he is. Okay. Now I can actually get close enough. I can see him. We got a great run through 1 and 2. Car was a little tight through there. But again, you'd expect that as we get closer and closer to the guy in front of us.
Get a podium here.
All right, here comes Truex.
Car inside. Clear low. Outside. Clear up top.
Oh yeah, that 4 car is not going to give me any room trying to get by him, and I don't blame him. That's exactly how I would expect him to drive me. A few laps to go in the race, There's a podium at stake.
Clear outside.
So I don't mind that. That is exactly, in fact, that's what I would expect him to do. All right, so that's Logano in front of us.
The lap time was at 32.1.
Cars finally started to get tight on corner exit. Still not a huge issue, but I can't say a whole lot though. I mean, we're getting to what would be the end of not only this race, but the end of a fuel run as well. There's our unwrapped car.
Inside.
2 to go. Keep it together. We'll be
Inside clear. Outside. Jump outside clear.
All right, final 2 laps. Let's see, can we do anything with Logano? I don't think so. He's running a pretty good pace out there. And we're pulling in on him, but not quick enough, I don't think, to do anything in the final lap. Let's see, he is, I'm going to have to glance and take a look. How far is he ahead? Okay, yeah, he's several tenths ahead.
all right, Brian. 1 more to go. Keep it together. We'll be on the podium.
Really like getting right down on that paint. I was looking forward to maybe some opportunities to get up and use that second or even third groove in this race, but we really haven't needed to. All right, so not bad. You notice in our mirror, there's nobody pushing us. We have put some serious distance on them. We'll come home with a podium finish. 3rd place,
Well,
not
decent
bad
drive.
at all. Hey, I'll take that. So a podium finish. We'll hop up here and give Logano a little wave out the window. Good race, my man. Appreciate it. We were coming at you, but we didn't quite have enough to get to you. So thank you guys very much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this race as much as I did. And stay tuned for more as we will continue iRacing coverage here at Knee Pit Gaming.